Hi, so we're going to be looking at how to create some implied texture in Photoshop. And we are doing this trying to create a base for the self-portrait collage that you're making. So instead of having a flat plain background, something that's totally smooth and solid color, we're going to put a little more implied texture on there and make it more interesting. So we can start off with just a blank document. We can also start off with a photograph. So right here I'm starting off with this blank document, and obviously it's really boring right now. So this is 8.5 by 11, 300 ppi. So please start off with the same size that we've been using throughout the class. So I went to my color picker, my eyedropper tool, because I'm going to select a color to start off with for my background, okay? So I've chose a color, and I'm going to pop that in there, okay? Obviously this is boring, and there's absolutely no texture there. So I'm going to pick some of my layers. I'm going to add another layer over here. I'll pick another color. Maybe I'll pick purple. Okay, so I have some different brushes that I'm going to be working with here. And if your brushes don't pop up, well, you can find them up here. You can also go to Window and go to Brushes and Brush Settings. Okay? So I had chosen this nice splatter brush from many of the different brushes that I have. And splatter brushes are really good for creating that textured look. So I'm going to make it nice and big. Whoa, that's big. And if I want to change the direction of this brush, I can go to this little circle, kind of spin that around, and mix that up a little bit. Okay. So I've started off with that, and that is on this second layer here. Other things I can do, I can go to Layer Style. Remember we used that before when we did our 3-line composition. So I can kind of play around with different options there, adding a style to that. I can also go to Filters and look at different options I may or may not want to use. To add some different effects there. Okay, this is still kind of boring. You're going to need to add several layers. And the more that you compile, the more textured and interesting it's going to look. So I have another layer. Let's pick a different color. Choices. Let's see here. Maybe something yellowish. Oh, that's kind of a gross color, isn't it? Alright, I can't handle that color. Okay. Maybe we'll just go with a brighter pink. I don't know. Okay. So I'm back in my brushes. Maybe I'll try a different one. Okay, make this nice and big. Again, I can rotate it. Kind of streak it through there, whatever I want to do. But you can see it's definitely building some texture. And then again, I can play around with layer styles and filters. And I can also come over here. You can see where I have the little arrows spinning around. This is where I have my blend modes. So right now it's on normal. But if I scroll down, you'll see there's lots of different things that'll start to happen. And just kind of plays around with how these layers are blending together. Maybe we'll go with soft light. And I can continue adding more layers and more effects and things until I get a background that's interesting and has that implied texture and is the way that I want it to look. So if I wanted to do this with a photograph, you would have to think really hard about which image you want to use as your base. There's a lot of examples in the PowerPoint that I shared with you, different images that students have used on this project in the past. So you would think about, if you have a particular idea, like you're wanting to put your face into a computer screen, or, I don't know, into a city skyline, or whatever the case may be. Think about your background if you want to use a photograph. But regardless of what the photograph is, again, you can add some texture and interest to it. So my background, I'm going to create another layer here. And let me think about it. I don't really want to use that pink color here. I'm having a hard time getting a good yellow that I actually like. Okay, that's all right. So maybe, I'm adding these things right in here with, on top of my photo. So already making it look more interesting, definitely adding some texture to it. Looking at some other brush options. Thought I did that on another layer, but I guess I didn't. Okay, so definitely added this layer here. This brush is really small. Let's make it big. And maybe we'll change colors again. So maybe we'll add like a greenish kind of color now. Okay. With this one, go back with my brush and kind of put some green in here. And everything you do doesn't have to have this sort of splattery effect, but for the sake of time in this demo, this is kind of the fastest way that I can do this to show you in a video. Okay, so again, I'm on this layer, and then I can again go up to the blend modes, which we just talked about. You can see how that's going to change this. Well, that's kind of interesting. So some of them you may like, some of them you may think look terrible, whatever the case is. This one's kind of interesting. Okay, I can also adjust the opacity, on the different layers and things like that. If I want something barely visible, I can change that up. I can go in and continue adding more layers and continuing, playing around with this until I get sort of the effect that I want. I'm playing with my layer styles and bevel and emboss. Let's see here. Okay. And some of the things you try may be more obvious and some of them may not. But, just kind of keep playing around and trying to create some texture and interest. Think about what you can overlay on top of this. Intending to use this as a base for your project. Maybe we'll try a little bit of this blue in here. Whoa. That one is it's little leaves. So there's some of the options here I've never actually tried before. So that's kind of dark. So that might be a good situation where I say, what, I'm going to try this, but I'm going to lower the opacity because I really don't want it to be taking over my entire image. Okay, so maybe just a little bit down in here might work a little better. And then again, I can go in and play around with the different filters and styles and just kind of make it look interesting. That's kind of interesting there. Alright, so you can play around with the gradient. Opacity is 100. I can lower that down again. Okay, so just trying to create some implied texture in what you will be using as a base image for your collage.